a client that I'm working with currently, and they're a food ingredient supplier, effectively, a better, more friendly plant-based meat, going after the animal meat sector. Um, and what I'm really trying to distill, everyone gets really excited about the potential of being, what's a good example, like replacing or being an additional menu item on IKEA's menus as like the plant-based meatball or something like that, right? And we want to be all over the world. And I'm like, that's all well and good. It's IKEA, it's a multinational, it's going to take a really long time. What's just as good in our infancy, in our early days, is having one of our meatballs on one of their menus, right? Because it allows us to be able to tell the story that now we're working with IKEA. It might just be one meatball, but we're working with IKEA. And so we can amplify our story and that message via multi-channels, marketing, PR, et cetera, to then capture the attention of maybe other multinationals and other companies that might want to work with us. But that's kind of like the run phase. But I think it's really important, and I think that's a good example of like aligning yourself and getting in with companies that you think might be able to propel you from a story perspective too. Yeah, I think that it kind of goes back to what I touched on earlier with like this crawl, walk, run kind of philosophy, where I almost look at that too, and you can implement that in from like a sales and BD perspective, where you've got crawl, walk, run is on three different size buckets, and the sizes of businesses within those buckets and the amount of time it takes to close each business within those buckets. Does that make sense? Right? And so you fill these buckets with your ideal people, sales targets, people you want to be working with, and from there really kind of distill down and hone in on the ones that feel like most attainable, right? Start with the lowest hanging fruit. You have someone in your network that might be able to kind of like get you in this early thing, so you have a little traction, you're able to tell that story to like the next bucket. And if you have contacts in that larger bucket, the sales cycle is longer, right? So it's going to take you longer to close. You don't want to be like betting everything on this, the hope of having a meatball in IKEA, right? You want to be working with the Ike sandwiches of the world to be able to create a new menu item. This is all kind of back to like as a food ingredient, a player, things like that. So it's important to be like always kind of touching those three different buckets, if you will, and keeping a watchful eye and understanding like timelines and cycles as to like how long it's going to close and what partnerships most impactful.